Buenos dias und herzlich willkommen bei Gate 7, deinem Podcast über Fernweh und Fotografie. In dieser Show geht es um Menschen, für die Reisen mehr ist als Spaß und Erholung. Freue dich auf praktische Tipps und Tricks, wie du tief in fremde Kulturen eintauchst und lerne, deine Abenteuer in bewegenden Bildern festzuhalten, egal mit welcher Kamera. Bist du bereit? Dann los, lass uns abheben mit deinem Gastgeber, Kai Beermann.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gate 7 podcast. It's another episode in English, and my guest today is Canadian photographer Dyanne Wilson. Dyanne is a documentary and fine art photographer based in Ottawa, Ontario. Although she studied art history at the University of Ottawa and has taken a few technical courses in photography, she's basically self-taught. In this interview, she talks about her influences in photography, and we get into the importance of looking at other art forms when developing a photographic vision. Another topic is Dyanne's photo tour to Yellowknife, which is considered to be the capital of Northern Lights in Canada. Dyanne has a keen interest in the cultural diversity of Canada as it is expressed in the built environment, nature, and life itself. She prefers images that convey the mood, narrative, and beauty of a person, place, or event. In 2014, Dyanne was invited by Fuji to be an official Fuji-X-Photographer. And now, without further ado, let's dive right into this wide-ranging conversation with Dyanne Wilson. Enjoy! Hello, Dyanne. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Kai, and thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for taking the time, and it's great to follow up with you this way. Back a couple of years ago, you were so kind to answer my questions, and you sent me your answers in written form for an interview on my blog, The Art of Creative Photography. And now with this podcast, it gives us the chance to follow up in person, or at least see each other via webcam.
Right.
Hello to Canada.
Yeah. Well, hello back to Germany.
Dyanne, before we get into the details and maybe you can take us on your journey from mastering the craft of photography to becoming an instructor and educator. Just give us a little heads up on yourself. Who are you?
Oh boy, the age-old question. Well, I'm still trying to decide who I am, but my name is Dyanne. I'm Dyanne Wilson. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother of 9 beautiful grandchildren. I'm a former figure skater. I'm a former skydiver. And over the past 12 years, I've decided to pick up photography. So I'm now a photographer. Whether I'm a master photographer, I wouldn't consider myself a master, as I feel I still have much to learn. But it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, photography is great. It's you never stop learning when you pick up a camera.
That's right. You're never done, and it helps you learn who you are as well by.
Yeah. When do you still remember the first moment or the first time you picked up a camera?
I remember being around 9 years old, and I had one of those little box things. And I was amazed with that. You push the little button and then out came a picture. It wasn't a Polaroid, but it was film camera, but I have no idea what kind it was, but it was a real antique box thing. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Was photography important in your family? Was your father taking pictures or your mother?
Oh, yes. Photography was very important in my family. Both my parents were taking pictures. In fact, my father, during World War II, he used to take photographs of the passing ships, and he would actually develop them in the bathtub. So on board the vessel at sea, during downtimes. So, and then later on, he got into movies and taking movies of the family. And my mother was really good at at editing and putting together albums. So photography, I mean, I remember the family slideshow, the movie night with family films. So yeah, we were growing up around photography.
Mm. But yourself, you didn't take up photography as something, well, to earn a living from, or something serious until later, as you said. I think you mentioned you studied art history at university, right?
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of art history in university and some philosophy, and I really enjoyed both. And no, I never thought of doing photography as a living. It was not something, to me, it was a hobby. And I was married young. I had 2 young children to raise and a mortgage to pay for. So photography really didn't ever become serious. I never became serious about it until much, much later in life. Unfortunately, I wish I had gotten started sooner at this point, but it is what it is.
Mm. During that time when you, well, raised your children, was photography something that you did on vacation or occasionally at family reunions or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would have a little camera and film, and I even had one of those disc cameras. I don't know if you remember those, but the little disc film, and I would take pictures of the family and we put together little albums and things like that. But I never really pursued it much after, much more than that. Just.
Yeah, with photography, it's well, it's never too late to get into it in a serious manner. What's important also is to develop a photographic view and to know how to see photographically, and that you can do without even having a camera in hand. Has that or how has that developed over the years with you?
I totally agree with you. I think it's important to have a viewpoint, and I'm not sure how it's developed. I just seem to have a knack. I remember starting off in photography, and I mentioned an old friend of mine. He said, "Dyanne, you should take up photography," and I was, incredulous. Why? It just didn't make any sense. He said, "Well, you have a good eye." And I remember traveling to old Quebec City and looking out the window of the Chateau Frontenac. And somehow I saw like 3 things. I saw a triangle. I had no idea what I was doing, but I took a not bad picture, good composition. It was kind of flat lighting, but my friend saw this photograph. He says, "Dyanne, you really have to take a look at photography." I had some sort of natural way of an understanding of composition. Like already I was putting triangles in the frame and lining. I waited till the little sailboat just got to the right place. And I had no idea why I was doing that. But composition has always been, I think, a forte of mine. I think it's important in how you arrange the information in the frame.
Do you think that might come from your studies of art history?
I think it might have had something to do with that. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I personally find it very helpful to look at other art such as painting or movies or whatever.
Exactly.
You can draw so much from that for your photography.
Exactly. And yeah, you really can. I mean, and just the styles of the different artists we learned about Impressionism. They were talking about the Impressionists and how it was going against the established, designed art of the day. And they were not allowed to display their work, and, how Van Gogh's madness appeared in the brushstrokes. And, I think we really can't escape who we are as people, and it shows up. It shows up in our environment, and it shows up on film, and it shows up in our photographs.
Yeah,
and it's revealing.
Yeah,
in a nice way.
Yeah, sure. I totally agree with what you said. It's all what you are as a person shows in your photography, and Going back a little bit, during the time when photography was not your number one passion, what did your life look like back then that maybe later on expressed itself in your photography as well?
Well, I think as a child, my dad was in the military, and we moved every couple of years. We were moving, and primarily to the northern communities. So I was raised as a child in the north. I spent 2 years in Inuvik, Northwest Territories, and 3 years in Churchill. So polar bears were at my back door all the time. Minus 40 was not novel. I mean, this was a daily thing, walking to school in minus 40. And I've always kind of yearned to go back as a photographer, to make photographs and to kind of retrace the steps we took as children with our parents. And both my parents have passed away. And so recently I've had the opportunity to go back north and actually lived there in Yellowknife for 2 years. And this time I was fully equipped as a Fuji-X-Photographer. And I had the XT1 camera and then the XT2 camera. And I think it's been healing in a sense for me to go back there and to actually photograph what I have in my memory.
Yeah. Well, that's great to have that experience, to go back to something that you remember as a child, and then with that in mind, also mixing it with what you see today. That's
exactly.
Fascinating.
It was quite an experience to actually live back in Yellowknife for 2 years and to see the aurora. I mean, I had only vague recollection of the aurora borealis when I was a child. I kind of remember standing in a street in Inuvik, Northwest Territories, and seeing these green things overhead, and I didn't really know what it was. And frankly, at the time, I wasn't that impressed. I was 9.
That's understandable.
I was only 9, at the time. So,
yeah. Yes, but you said that you went back that now you're also a Fuji-X photographer. How did that come about?
That was kind of a fluke somehow. In the process of kind of letting go of all my Nikon equipment, because I was finding it too heavy and I was not wanting to photograph unless I was being paid for it, which is not a good thing as a photographer. I was introduced to Fuji and their X100 camera, and then the XE2 and then the XT1 came out. When the XT1 came out, I thought, oh my gosh, I can replace Nikon and all those heavy lenses with this little gem. And so I started doing that, and I happened to meet Billy, the Fuji guy, at a store in the process of checking out some new lenses, and I gave him my card. And I told him I was just dumping everything and going Fuji all the way. And he later sent me an email. He said, Dyanne, would you like to be an ex-photographer? And I said, sure. What is that exactly? So that's it was kind of an accident, and but it's been really interesting.
Oh, okay. So you made that transition to Fuji, to their gear. What is it that you like about it?
I like the compact factor and that it doesn't weigh so much. Also, the images that come out of the camera just they're incredible. I also find you don't have to work so hard in post-production after the fact. I mean, the film simulations that they have in the camera are pretty well spot on to how I see things. And so there's very little post-processing involved on my end, which I like, because I like my photographs to appear real and authentic, and I try to give people a sense of what it was actually like.
Mm. There's photographers that pay very, very much, or are very gear oriented. people or persons. What kind of photographer are you? Is gear important, or is gear or the camera in the end just a tool to to make good pictures?
I don't think I'm gear oriented, but I like nice things. I have to admit. And, you can take a really good picture these days with an iPhone. And really, it's up to the photographer how they're seeing things. But I like a camera to be comfortable. If the camera is so heavy that you really don't want to take it out of your bag unless somebody's paying you big dollars, then that's just not workable. It should be a part of you. It should be an extension of you. And what I like about the Fuji-X-T2 is that it can be as little or as big as you want, depending on your needs. So if you're just going shopping or running around, you can put the little X-T2 with a small lens in your purse and take photographs as you go. And if you have to show up at a client's and they think they're paying you big money because you have that big camera, well, I just put on the vertical grip and take out the big lenses. So I like the flexibility of that. So no, I'm not technical. I can't read a manual from start to finish without my eyes glazing over. And, I learn as I need to go. Where's that bit about this? So I'm not technical, and I don't think I'm gear oriented. I like to make photographs.
Mm. How would you describe your style? You already mentioned that you like to like your images to be authentic. What else is it that characterizes your style as a photographer?
I think authenticity is way up there. I think good composition, good lighting, authentic, real. Yes, of course, I will enhance the image a little bit in Photoshop and Lightroom as I go along. But I like it to be aesthetically pleasing as well. I try to avoid, if I'm photographing people in the streets, if they're carrying garbage bags or grocery bags, plastic bags, I tend to not want to photograph it. I don't like that sort of thing. So I look for aesthetically pleasing situations, basically.
Mm. Is there a particular genre that you prefer?
I like landscapes, but it's not just strictly landscapes. I like to blend, hand of man, we used to say at the photo club, hand of man with landscapes, evidence of man being there and the buildings that they make and the footsteps and the prints they leave behind and how they're adapting. And climate seems to play a big role in my imagery as well, because being a northern girl, I do like the snow. I like the cold. I like how people respond to the cold. I think that's a big factor. I also enjoy doing portraiture. I like expressions of people, and I notice different expressions, and I like to ask their permission first, for the most part, for a portrait. I like interesting characters.
Yes. And these days, do you make a living from photography, or is it still basically a hobby for you?
No, I'm doing my best to make a living at it. I'll say that. I'm doing my best to make a living. It's not an easy choice to make a living, but I'm thinking with, doing more portraiture perhaps, and also tours and workshops to the north, to Canada's north, is something that I'm going to be working towards and doing more of, because it was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to talk about that trip with you. But first of all, it's very tough to make a living at photography these days. Do client work or sell prints. It's there's lots of competition. What is it that you find especially difficult?
Especially difficult. Well, I think if I could narrow down what I like doing to one thing and just do that, and say, okay, I'm just going to be a landscape photographer and I'm going to sell prints and that's all I'm going to do, and case closed. But then I'll find a portrait that I want to do, and the idea of designing my website so it's only one thing, I can't do that. For some reason, it's like, well, no, I have nice landscapes there, and there's some nice street photos here, and I've got portraiture, and I've done a few nice weddings. So I like to always keep my options open, and I like to be flexible. So I'm a photographer. I was listening to Annie Leibovitz the other day, and she says, don't pigeonhole yourself. I'm a photographer. I take images, and there's a certain style that run, I think, throughout all of my images, regardless of what it is. And I think so. I think that's the hardest part. It would be easy if I said, well, I'm a wedding photographer and that's it, that's all. And then you can really design your website around that.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. There's always two sides to that. Well, some say it's better to find a niche or to really focus yourself on a particular genre or whatever, and others say or give the advice to try to be broad and to offer different services and to make to have different streams of income or possible income.
Exactly. I think I'd like to. I'd like to do more teaching. I have a background in teaching a variety of different things, and it's one of my interests to teach photography, but in a way that allows the student to come to their own vision as opposed to my vision, because I think it's so important that people not try to be someone else, but to really develop their own vision. I had my wise friend years ago. I asked him, well, what should I do to become a photographer? And he says, well, go over there to that corner and find something interesting and photograph it for a week. But he didn't tell me what to photograph or how to photograph or what style to use. It really is. It's about finding your personal viewpoint, and I would be very careful not to impose my vision onto somebody else. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Or that approach to teaching, not to tell students what to photograph, but to encourage them to find or to express what they want to express, and give them the tools to do that with photography. Are there more examples on your journey to become a photographer? You just mentioned that that advice you were giving. Are there more examples for that along the way, or milestones that helped you to take the next step as a photographer?
Yeah, but that was probably the most profound one for me. Certainly I've had lots of lessons from different people and all that, and I think it's very. I think for me the most important thing is, when people are giving you advice, is like it may or may not fit, and it may work for you, but it may not work for me, sort of thing. So I think I've had so many people tell me what I should be doing, and of course it's not resonating with me and who I am as a photographer, and so I think really for me that's the biggest thing, is you really have to search inside yourself. I mean, being a photographer is not easy. I mean, if you're out there following everybody else, or what the trends are, and you're trying to keep in step with the trends, but you're not expressing yourself and your own passion. So I think it's really important to honor yourself, and in teaching others, that's what I would stress. I like Annie. I've been listening to Annie Leibovitz lately. She has a portrait class online, and she says that the most important things are the things around you, and you should photograph your life and the people in it and the things that you love. And I like that approach.
Yeah, it's true. And also the advice to photograph what's around you. As a photographer or as photographers, we sometimes feel the need to go to faraway places to take good photographs. But it's so important to know how to photograph in your own backyard.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Where are you and what's interesting about where you are right now? I mean, William Eggleston, the color street photography, he didn't move 3 blocks from his house. And,
That's true, yes.
So, you don't really have to travel to exotic places all the time to make interesting pictures. You should be able to make interesting pictures in your neighborhood, I think. So that's why, yeah.
I so agree. And now that you mentioned William Eggleston, he's one of the photographers that I admire a lot. And when I first discovered his work, it was exactly what you mentioned, that he just stayed in his own backyard in Memphis area and photographed like things that, well, back then nobody else would photograph, and that you don't consider to be a beautiful picture in traditional terms. And well, the lesson is, you can take a good picture or an interesting picture of just about anything.
Exactly. And and it was true to him as a person. I don't know if you or I tried to redo the same thing, if it would feel authentic to us. If we tried to copy what he did, I don't think it would feel authentic. I mean, yeah.
No, totally. It's not about copying, but just be aware of the possibilities that are out there, and just take bits and pieces from other photographers, incorporate that into your own style, and just to make it your own, I think.
Exactly. And also, I think, photography, it reveals, it's very revealing. I mean, what do you notice? I mean, you have a record now, and it's digital records of, you can keep all of your pictures without worrying about the cost of it. You can have them all developed, sort of thing. And so you tend to see what you notice and what's important to you as a person or as a photographer, which you may not have known before picking up a camera. It helps you to slow down and really reveal what's important to you.
Yeah, be more observant, and that's just also what I find so beautiful about photography. It makes you walk around and observe things and see things, and realize what resonates with you, and what catches your attention.
Exactly, because it's never the same for 2 people. They can walk in the same street, and they will notice 2 different things and have completely two different experiences. So that's what I find so fascinating about photography, really.
Yeah. Great. And now you went on your first tour as on a photography trip. You took a group of people to the north, to Yellowknife, and how was that experience, or how did that come about?
My feet were put to the fire is how that came about. I mean, as I mentioned, I was living up in Yellowknife for 2 years and continuously posting photographs of the beauty of the north. And I had a couple of friends down south in Ottawa who were following me on Instagram and really wanting to come and see the north with me. And I said, sure. Well, I'll put together a tour and I'll get back to you. Well, I didn't get back to them, but I ran into them at Christmas time up here in Ottawa at Parliament Hill, and they said, we're going in March, right? Okay.
They made you accountable.
They made me accountable, and I was able to kind of at the last minute find enough hotel rooms to book this tour. March is a very busy time of year up there. We have people coming from all over the world to Yellowknife to see the Northern Lights. Anyway, I was able to book a few rooms, and the next thing I know, we were going on this tour, a jam-packed weekend tour, a photographic tour to Yellowknife. So I gave them instructions before we left to go to Yellowknife on how to photograph the Northern Lights, because I thought it would be much easier when it's only -5 to photograph at night, doing a long exposure with nothing happening in Ottawa, versus -30 possibly with the aurora dancing overhead. So we had a little instruction before we went, and it was a lot of fun. It was busy. We went dog sledding. We photographed ice fishing with the traditional Dene way of ice fishing, and we enjoyed sashimi from lake to plate dining, basically, and a couple of nights of Aurora Village. And it was too short a trip, though. Next one will have to be much longer, about a week, I would think.
So, but the whole package, not just photography, but also other things that you can enjoy, like food and good conversations, and just having a all-around good time.
Yeah, an all-around good time. And I think it's important. I want people to experience Canada's north, the culture, the beauty. I mean, it's not just about Northern Lights. Like I said, that's the icing on the cake, but it's to learn about the traditional Dene way of doing things. It's about being exposed to the culture, and I think that gives you a lot of photographic opportunities as well, and the beauty of the North, as well as the food, of course, and the camaraderie of new people and friends. And I also like to bring people and introduce them to some of the artists that are there, that are doing traditional carvings, Inuit carvings and things like that. So more photo opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And with you as a guide, someone who really knows that area, it's you don't go on that trip as a photography instructor, but you can tell so much more, give so much more detail and information about the place, which makes it so much more valuable for someone.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. And I think certainly it's a photography tour. But I mean, you have to take pictures of things that you're doing. So I think if you're just looking for the Northern Lights, you might miss so many other things that you can photograph. I mean, Old Town Yellowknife was established in the 30s, and I don't think there's a town out there that quite looks like Yellowknife. And for people who like urban photography or street photography, I have to admit, is a bit difficult because it's -30. There's no one outside.
Different kind of street photography.
It is. It's empty street photography.
Sounds like a challenge, yeah.
But sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll see a dog team go by, and an airplane, bush plane flying in. So, I mean, that's street photography, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else was a challenge for you on your first trip?
I think it was just too short, and I didn't have enough time to. It was kind of a familiarization trip, really. I didn't have enough time to plan much more than that. So I think the next one, I might go in September, another short trip, because I know a few other friends, people were interested in a short trip. But ideally, I would like to do a week-long excursion to the north so people can really experience what it's all about and come home with great pictures.
So the idea is to offer this to just about anyone, or within your, or is it for friends only at this point?
Oh no, it's for anybody who wants to travel north and experience northern Canada is certainly welcome. I would ask them to send me an email so that they can be on my list. So when the details are available, I can certainly update them. And no, I'm open to anybody for sure.
That sounds great. Dyanne, where can people find out more about you on the internet, and also, find your email and contact information?
Well, my website has pretty much all the information, DyanneWilson.com. My name is spelt with a Y, though, so that's the tricky thing, DYANNE, DyanneWilson.com. So I'm available there. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram as Dyanne Wilson, and they can see,
Sounds like a great opportunity, or if for just anybody who wants to discover the north of Canada photographically with you and have a good time. It's I
think it would be great. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Dyanne, just a couple more questions at the end. There's so much information about photography out there on the internet. Is there, a special website that you like to visit to get inspiration from, or to learn, just about different topics of photography?
Oh, gosh. Like you said, there are so many different really valuable websites out there with information. I'm always looking to what other ex-photographers are doing and how they're expressing themselves photographically. So I find that there are so many really great photographers out there. And, I've been looking at Annie Leibovitz's online course, which I highly recommend if you want to take portrait photography. If you're interested in portrait photography, is also a very good resource. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, the course you mentioned from Annie Leibovitz, I also saw that a while ago. What is it? Is it about? Is it different videos, or is it how is it structured, that course?
They have different videos, and it's kind of like having Annie Leibovitz in your living room. She gives short video tutorials. They're about 20 minutes each one, and there's a lesson or learning involved. And then there's a little exercise and some background information. They provide you with notes, and you can go in the chat rooms afterwards and discuss it with your colleagues, other people who are taking the same course. So it's kind of good. Yeah.
Are there any other photographers that you admire, or that you found inspiring on your way?
Oh gosh, I'm blank at names right now.
No problem.
I really, because I'm kind of switching to more portraits while I'm in Ottawa, because I don't have any northern things to photograph here. So my head is going over to portraiture right now. I like Annie Leibovitz's work a lot. I like especially, her black and white, gritty, family, not perfect photographs. I'm really inspired by her ability to capture the honest moment of things. I really like that. And there's some really good street photographers that I like, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, Dyanne, it's been fun talking to you about photography, and to learn about your projects now with the photo tours up to the north. I think that's amazing, and I personally prefer warmer climate, but
I know it sounds like a tough sell, right?
Well, to me, but not. I think there's many people out there who enjoy the cold, and certainly sounds exciting, and I'm pretty sure one day I'll make it up there as well. And
that would be great. That would be wonderful. Yeah,
fun to be on one of your tours.
Well, thank you. It would be fun to have you, and we can also go up during the month of September at some point. It's not so cold that time of year.
That sounds like a good compromise.
Yeah, why not? Well, good talking to you too, Kai. It's been real fun. Real pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time. Bye-bye, Dyanne.
Okay, bye-bye, Kai. Thank you.
Well, this was my interview with Dyanne Wilson, Fuji-X-Photographer from Canada. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Please make sure to check out Dyanne's work and her workshops on her website, DyanneWilson.com. And if you want to listen to more interviews in English on this podcast, please follow the link in the show notes of this episode. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time. Bye-bye.